Greetings and welcome back to the channel. This is a man called Gavar, and I'm doing a follow-up to my just produced video where I documented the fact that my first federal claim has now been filed. I'm very excited. One of my mentors, Pickle Man, Brandon Joe Williams, love you, bro. He talks about how in the West we don't really have a rite of passage. We don't really have like ceremonies where a boy becomes a man or a girl becomes a woman. And he firmly believes that litigation is that rite of passage. And now that I feel how empowering it is, how I feel now that my first claim has been filed, I feel very empowered. And all the stimulation of my mind, the juices are already flowing. I talked about in my last video how this knucklehead magistrate has already filed a pleading without my permission. So he's stepped on my process. He's trespassed on my case. And now I get to deal with that. Now, when I first got the notice from him, it hit me in the gut really hard. But then I started thinking, wait a minute, who the hell is this guy? Jumps in here. I've taken 4 years of gut-wrenching work, struggling to maintain this claim, never let go of it, despite that the man robbed me of a whole year of my labor, and it was kind of a 1-2 punch because it came on the heels of COVID, which I lost my home, my greenhouse, my business, and I'd been couch surfing, staying at friends' house, and trying to get out of the state of New Mexico. And then I was given this opportunity to go to work for this guy as a nonprofit. He sold it to me as a program that was supposed to help veterans, and he totally ripped me off. Totally, completely freaking conned me out of a year of work. And so after going through all this rigmarole and holding on to my claim and training myself in equity law, serving notices and getting notices served on the wrongdoers and waiting patiently for a response, trying over the course of years to resolve this in the private, this fucking knucklehead, excuse my French, this douchebag, who I don't even know his name, it doesn't even matter, it's irrelevant, has the nerve to, within 24 hours of me filing my first claim, seeking justice and equity for somebody who stole from me. This knucklehead has the nerve to file a motion that says if I don't dot this I, cross that T, he's going to dismiss my case. Well, guess what, knucklehead? You don't have the authority to do that, and that's a trespass on my rights. Okay? And I'll be damned if I'm going to have some schmuck magistrate. By the way, the word magistrate is a civil officer of the lowest degree in a clerk. It's a clerk at a court. It's a clerk. They have no judicial or legislative authority at all. So he has no authority to even open his frickin' mouth except to say, hey, Vince, hey, Gavar, I'd like the job. Please look at my qualifications. No, what's he do? He jumps in and starts barking off notices and orders. Well, you know what? He's about to learn a very, very valuable lesson from an American. Yours truly, me, myself, and I, a man called Gavar. So let's get into this bill in equity that I filed. You've been looking at it on the screen. So you're looking at the top of the screen there. It's got a case number. And that initial at the end there is that jackass's initials. Okay. Case 1:25 -CV-00127. Filed. Here it is right there. Filed. U.S. District Court, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Look how it's all uppercase letter. You know what that means, folks? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does it mean? United States District Court, Santa Fe, New Mexico, all uppercase. What does that mean? That means it's a fiction at law. Okay? So, here's my heading. U.S. District Court, District of New Mexico, in the Court of Equity. And what's it called? It's called the Vincent James Court. See how nice the clerk put the case number? where I told her to. Awesome. Obviously, it wasn't Mitchell because the letter here, JR, that's not GR, that's not Mitchell, that's not ME. So it wasn't even Mitchell himself, one of his lackeys. So, important points I want to point out here as we get into this bill in equity. Identification of parties at the beginning of the claim. Okay? Claimant, that's me. Okay? National of the United States, per 8 U.S.C. 1101A22B. If you read that, let's look it up. I want to take it there and show it to you. 8 U.S.C. Let's see, 1101. Let's go there. I want to show it to you online so you can look for yourself. Very important. Identifying who we are talking about in this claim. Who is involved? Who are the parties? Because federal district courts are the court of jurisdiction for what's called diversity claims, meaning a citizen of one jurisdiction is suing a citizen of a different jurisdiction. So let's scroll on down. 8 U.S.C. 1101. This guy got to go all the way down here to get to it. So all this superfluous words. 22. 22B is a person, which I kind of take issue with that, but for our purpose, we'll move forward. Though not a citizen of the United States, owes permanent allegiance to the United States. So I'm identifying myself as a national of the United States. To click on that definition at 8 U.S.C. 1101A22, and it gives you the same thing. They must be like retarded or something because they're defining a term with the same term used in the term. How retarded. Not a citizen of the United States. That's the most important part. But not a citizen of the United States. Thank you, District Court of Santa Fe, New Mexico, for giving me evidence in the record of your de facto court that I am not a U.S. citizen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm calling myself a claimant. Claimant. See that word there? Claimant? Not plaintiff. Claimant. That's a word not in their lingo. Okay? That's why they won't use it. The wrongdoer. This is the person who did me wrong. This is the person who's guilty of a moral failure. The man's a complete buffoon, con man, failure. He morally failed in the so-called exercise of what he claims his nonprofit is supposed to do. It's supposed to be helping in-need veterans. And what did he do? Instead of helping this veteran, he kicked me in the teeth and knocked me further down a path of destitution. That's why I am suing him, because he stole my property. The man stole a year of my labor and denied me the right to make any money off the endeavor. He breached our contract. So I'm suing him individually and as executive director because I want to lean up the veterans off-grid property. He has 40 acres up on a mountain. I want to lean it up and foreclose on him, put him out of business because he's a con man. The man is an absolute con fraud. And, key word here, resident of the state of New Mexico. Okay, resident. What's resident? Resident means, well, in law, we know that if you reside in a state of New Mexico, for example, state of New Mexico is a federal territory of the District of Columbia. So he's a native of the District of Columbia, but he resides in state of Mexico. And that means he's a U.S. citizen. He's beneath me. He's one of their sheep. So when I get done with him, they can do what they want with him. Okay? So once again, I identify myself all throughout the document as a sovereign with not using that word, though. So comes now the claimant. There's my name. A man. So there I'm a sovereign. And sui juris means of my own right, meaning I possess all my rights, which means I am not a U.S. citizen. And I present, not submit, I present this bill in equity, pursuant to the principles of equity and justice, and state as follows. I'm going to make this available. I'll figure out how to do it. I probably have to post it somewhere. But I want to make it available so you can read it. It took me a little bit of work to put this together, but I'm pretty proud of it. It may not be perfect, but it's my first effort building equity. I modeled it after one I saw in Gibson Suits and Equity, Suits and Chancery, which is a 1,200-page book on equity law. And once again, in identifying the parties, claimant, Vincent James DePalma, a man and national of the United States per 8 U.S.C. 1101 A22B, acting in his own right, capital R, right. I'm moving my claim as a matter of right. It's not a privilege, it's a right. They can't charge me for it, and they can't arbitrarily deny it to me. If they do, then they're guilty of constitutional violations, for which I can have them thrown in jail. And then the wrongdoer, okay? Factual background, get into the whole story. I'm not going to review this. Maybe I will in another video. And I document all of the evidence. That's all on the record I talked about in part 1 of this video series, where I noticed the case being filed. Here's my claim for relief, breach of contract and dishonor, fraud, slander, and unjust enrichment, because the man benefited from my work and didn't compensate me for it. That's also a theft. These are all equitable principles. They're not statutory. None of this is statutory. None of it. I'm not relying upon statutory requirements of fraud to put forth my claim that he defrauded me. Now, I noted in here a New Mexico statute, because that's for them to see, well, here's what he did according to your law. But he caused harm to I, and that's the damage. My prayer for relief, $65,000 for breach of agreement and slander, $38,000 for services rendered. I sent him a bill, which I'll get into detail maybe in another video, over the use of my equipment and my time and all the effort I put into the project that was never compensated for. Sent him a bill. He went quiet on that, so he owes it to me. And of course, an assessment of my time, studying, preparing to file this claim and to prepare it. And I also asked the court for a lien on his property, which I'm going to go ahead and do anyway, because in the lien, I'll talk about that in a separate video, there's a case, the Snead Act case, where you don't have to have a judicial judgment before you can file a lien on someone's property. You can lien them up before you got a judgment. Yeah, you can. Supreme Court said so. Why? Because he's in dishonor. I have tried over the course of 3 years to get this man to take responsibility for his negligence and his frauding and his theft of my property. And he has run like a pussy the entire time. The man's a coward. He makes up this great veneer on his website that he is a patriot and a lover of his country and a so-called PTSD suffering veteran from 2 tours in Afghanistan. He's got a Jesus complex the size of the state of New Mexico. I know this from working with him. Oh, how nice. Put some little plants on the homepage. What a con. There he is. There's the con man. There he is. There he is. There's the con man. I'm a con man. My name is Ryan Timmermans. So he says here, he served in the U.S. Army as an intel analyst and psychological operations specialist. Man's an idiot, okay? Multiple tours in Afghanistan, both the soldier and contractor, suffer from PTSD. He's using that PTSD banner as a cloak to take advantage of other veterans. And he claims to want to help veterans reintegrate into society. But he steals from them, okay? He robs them of their labor and time and gives them nothing. The man's a con man. Anyway, I don't want to, it sickens me to look at this picture. And these are all the doofuses. Look at doofuses that just give him their time. There's his father, doofus father, and staff, people. Here's this person. I CC'd this guy on the email, Richard Kalinka, and this lady too. CC'd her on the email where I sent a copy of the document. Anyway, that's his website. You can check it out. Scam off grid, veterans off grid. That's the scam artist. Okay, back to my claim. So, and I require a public apology and court costs and fees per every process. I asked them to arrest him once the court convenes and is being heard. I asked for a discovery. And in conclusion, I claim the following. I have acted in good faith, and I come to this honorable court with clean hands to submit records of my private administrative attempts to resolve this matter in the private. That's important. Why? Because courts are not meant for frivolous matters that you can resolve by simply calling the person up on the phone and saying, hey, you stepped on my property yesterday and you crushed my yard sign. Can you please replace it? And the guy says, yeah, sure. Okay, you don't bring that guy to court for that. You go and you talk to him. It's called private administrative process. Keeping it in the private. I have tried for almost 4 years now to get this con man to take responsibility for his actions. And he has refused. It's called dishonor. Okay? Claimant has made repeated attempts to resolve the matter in the private without resort to public resources of court. I seek only equitable justice. I'm not looking to inflict any harm on the man other than what he damaged me, other than the harm he caused me. The wrongdoer's continued dishonor and refusal to offer remedy for the harm his actions have caused have left me with no choice but to seek relief from this court of equity. I require this honorable court move with haste to remedy claimant's dire situation at present. Okay, I have moved 15 times since 2020. Now, this trespass here for the Veterans Off-Grid guy that he caused came on the heels of my being knocked on my face by COVID and losing my home and my greenhouse and my business. And if that wasn't bad enough, I go to work for a nonprofit hoping to insert some good karma and help somebody out. And my honest intention was to do two things. One, to make some money to get the heck out of New Mexico because that place is a communist hellhole. And the second thing was twofold. I wanted to help my clients continue to get the services of the microgreens that I was growing by passing my business on to somebody else. That was my intention. And in doing so, help this so-called nonprofit, which claims to help veterans, help veterans by getting a food growing operation started. That was my sincere intention, that by doing a good deed, I would allow my clients to continue to get their quality microgreens, and I would allow someone else to benefit from my hard work of the previous 3 years because all I wanted was to get the heck out of Dodge. Okay, so I asked for a warrant to be served on him once proceedings begin, so he'll attend the services, he'll attend the hearings, because he's been evading me. I also declare my interest in safeguarding other members of the armed services who may fall victim to the same predatory scheme brought upon the claimant, and I pray this honorable court take appropriate measures within its discretion and powers with the intent and aim of detainment and prosecution of wrongdoer for his ongoing predatory schemes to defraud others. He's defrauding veterans and he's defrauding his community because he sponsors a weekly Voluntuesday, he calls it, where volunteers come out and help him build his project for free. The man's a total con man. So the intention of my claim is in good faith, exercised in simple manifest hope of protecting the community from further harms wrought by the wrongdoer. And I signed it without prejudice, UCC 1308, which means this is my court. I am opening a court proceeding in your venue. I am sui juris in my own right. I'm not sacrificing my rights to come into your jurisdiction and open my claim. So there you have it, folks. That's how a sovereign opens his court. And the little blue print across the top of the page confirms that my case is now open. And I am now moving my first claim. Follow me on this channel for more details. Please like, share, subscribe. And I could use your support. You can Zelle me any contributions you want as well. Thank you for your support. This is a man called Gavar signing out.